Why do I get the feeling that I'm about to make a lot of people very unhappy?
Science fiction, double feature, doctorates, will build a creature, see androids playing, Janet, and Francis Stargate, Forbidden Planet, at the late night, double feature, picture show, in the bathroom.
Welcome back to the 13 Films of Halloween on Filmmaster Reviews. I'm Adam J. In 2013, I attended an advanced screening of the Evil Dead remake, directed by then-newcomer Fede Alvarez. It was stylish, horrifying, gory, and understood the silliness of the Evil Dead movies down to a T. It was so good that I even included it toward the top of my list of favorite horror remakes. So needless to say, I was quite curious to see where this young protege of Sam Raimi would take his career next. When I saw the trailer for Don't Breathe, my jaw dropped to the floor. The setup seemed ingenious. Jane Levy from the Evil Dead remake was the lead, and the villain was played by Stephen Lang. So with all of that said, does Don't Breathe live up to all my expectations? Does it live up to its hype? Is it as good as all the critics are making it out to be? Honestly, no, not at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not horrible. Don't Breathe has some nice atmosphere, a cool villain performance in Stephen Lang, and some legitimately good scares here and there. However, Don't Breathe manages to shoot itself in the foot with a second half too ridiculous for words. It's more ridiculous than the second half of The Boy, and that's saying a lot. It introduces elements that are so nonsensical and insulting to the brain that it pretty much destroys what was otherwise a decent horror film. We are introduced to our main heroine, Rocky, played by Jane Levy. Why even the cruelest parent in the world would name their daughter Rocky is beyond me, but, whatever, I'll buy it. Anyway, Rocky robs houses with her boyfriend Money, played by David Zavato, and her best friend Alex, played by Dylan Minnette. Long story short, Money discovers the house of a blind army veteran that holds an inheritance big enough for them to leave town. After convincing Alex to help, the three break into the house assuming the blind man won't be any trouble. However, that assumption proves false when they find themselves fighting for survival against a man who can hear their every move. Before I get into why this movie just commits cinematic suicide in its second half, let's just talk about a few of the positives here. The tension in this movie is forever mounting. It never lets up and, like the title suggests, doesn't really allow you to breathe. This is an edge-of-your-seat flick because Fede Alvarez understands how to build and sustain tension. Stephen Lang is amazing in this flick. The film is worth seeing if only for him. Lang has a strong presence. Because of this, he is a force to be reckoned with in a horror-based environment. He's smart, he's strong, and most of all, he's scary. Blind or not, you see Stephen Lang coming your way, consider your bowels voided. I'm just saying, if there was ever an excuse for Stephen Lang to play Cable in Deadpool 2, this is it. Fox, make it happen, please. Sadly, the good stuff stops there, as I noticed something very familiar about this film about halfway through. Let's just examine this for a minute. The main character is trying to save a family member close to them. Main character and two friends break into a rich person's barred-up home to steal inheritance money. The leader is killed violently shortly after entering the house. Not a spoiler, it's in the trailer. The bad guy has a huge dog that chases the main character throughout the house on several occasions. The bad guy keeps a dark secret in the basement. The main character desperately tries to escape the house that seems to be locked up at every point and with heavy security. I'm just gonna say it. This movie is People Under the Stairs with a blind guy. If you've never seen that film, please do. It's outstanding and one of Wes Craven's best. May he rest in peace. Minnette and Levy both do fine in their roles. Both of these actors have so many scenes without dialogue, and it's those scenes in which the movie shines brightest. When the film focuses on them just trying to stay quiet so that Lang won't hear them, the tension is insane. I really wish it had just stayed that way. Unfortunately, there is a twist thrown in the second half of the film, and it's not a good one. In fact, it was actually quite stupid. And because of this, the gritty realism shown in the first half feels incredibly undermined. I won't spoil it here, but I will talk about it after I've given my rating, so just wait till the end of the video if you want me to talk about this some more. Let me put it to you like this. The situation began with these teenagers robbing a blind veteran that they underestimated. This blind man went from a simple, old veteran trying to protect his home to a mix between Daredevil and Jigsaw. It's like he went from John McClane in Die Hard, just a simple guy, to John McClane in A Good Day to Die Hard. In other words, invincible with infinite lives. It's because of this that the movie just goes from scary to absolutely ridiculous at the drop of a hat. It also didn't help that the film just wouldn't end. While Alvarez doesn't resort to jump scares, he is clearly not against using way too many fake outs, to the point that this film wears out its welcome about 20 minutes before it actually ends. But honestly, the final issue I have with this film is the main character. Rocky went from a smart, well-fleshed out character that I liked to an idiotic, despicable character that I found myself hating. By the end, I was honestly rooting for Stephen Lang to just croak this bitch. I will use an example just to try and lend some context here. This may seem completely unrelated to Don't Breathe, but when you've seen the movie, you'll know why I put this here.
You gotta wish us out of here.
Not me. These wishes are worth a fortune.
What's more important, a fortune or your life?
Well...
Hey, it's not exactly a trick question.
Overall, Don't Breathe is kind of worth seeing, if only for Stephen Lang's performance. If you go into this movie just for a few chilling moments in Stephen Lang, you may get your money's worth. It was a perfectly fine horror film before it shot itself in the foot. It can be scary and even tense at times. It just makes no goddamn sense. Plus, the main character growing unlikable by the end didn't help its case. If you want a horror film with even the slightest bit of common sense from this year, I would recommend just watching 10 Cloverfield Lane again. Seriously, that has got this film beat by a fucking landslide. I don't think Don't Breathe is an awful movie, but it's certainly not good. Nor is it the perfect horror film everyone is making it out to be. I still like these actors, I still like Fede Alvarez, but the film ultimately fell flat for me. It is the ultimate definition of a disappointment, and I'm giving Don't Breathe a D+. Okay, now, spoilers ahead. I'm going to talk about the twist in this movie. If you don't want to be spoiled, if you haven't seen the film, just stop the video right here. When the characters make it into the basement, we discover that this blind man has a woman chained up. This woman apparently ran over his daughter, killed her, and got off scot-free because her and her family were rich. So Lang kidnapped her, chained her in the basement, and impregnated her with his frozen sperm so that she could give him another daughter. On top of this, he promised her that once the baby was born, he would let her go. And as the film clearly shows, he's a man of his word. Okay. Questions. How the fuck did a blind man go to a rich neighborhood he's never seen, enter a house he's never seen, kidnap a woman he's never seen, and create a full-on harness in the basement that he can't fucking see?
Bullshit.
That doesn't make sense.
It's crazy talk.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Furthermore, how in the shit was he gonna let her go afterwards? In what sick reality is something like that gonna go well for him? And I'm sorry, if she was kidnapped, how the hell would he not be a suspect? Regardless of his blindness, he'd be the most obvious given their history. This is fucking stupid! It doesn't make any sense! I've seen speeches by Donald Trump that make more sense than this. Fuck!
Think about that. That's just dumb.
He's coming.
Now you're gonna see what I see.